we were
and then the environment was cleaned up.
The first time I was hearing about this stuff. Wow. It was totally new to me.
I dealt with social impact consulting.
One was a year of consciousness. So with that consciousness, we are going to see more action, more civic activism.
If you look at the rights and freedom of citizens to express themselves freely, that is deteriorating.
One of the major threats to the civic space in 2022 remains government, repressive governments and governmental action.
Advocacy is for a purpose, to influence social change in the positive direction.
Civil society represents the third sector, if you may, and it's inclusive of the media, NGOs, thought leaders, and people who just have a say in how a country, a people, or a place is run.
At the core of the work that we do is a strong belief that to really address educational inequity and inequality requires us really building a critical mass of dynamic, passionate, committed leaders who will dedicate themselves to addressing the different issues within the educational sector and the educational space.
Young people need to get into the government and then be able to push for issues that affect them, because you can't keep staying out and then thinking that things will work in for your own good. So you need to be able to prepare yourself.
Civil society represents a community of engaged individuals who work with us to build consensus around progressive policy options and to give citizens a voice in governance.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy holidays. How are you all doing today? This is Efwa again from Social Impact Consulting. We're having another wonderful video podcast, the Development Sector Series, which is Dev Sector Series. You know, I'm just grateful that for the consistency that we've been able to push Dev Sector Series for over the past 2 years. We started during COVID and we've come really, really far so far. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited about how things are gonna go next year. So those of you who usually show me some love, please just like and share, like and share, like and share, like and share, so that more people are able to see this. It tells the algorithm that this is what to watch. We're trying to work to tell the world about the development sector in Nigeria, the development sector in Africa. And we've had such great speakers, like I mentioned to you last year, great speakers talking about, what they're doing to change the world, about current events. I've had quite a few development sector series episodes about civil society, about, just various topics. One of the highlights was when we were talking to the young innovators, that are doing great things to change the world, like Help Mom, like the Marjorie Rights Initiative. So these are things that encourage me to keep going, So please just continue to watch, continue to like, continue to share. because it's really great work that we are doing. Okay, so today is going to be a really interesting conversation. We're going to be talking to a civil society activist. You know why I put him as a civil society activist? Because he's part of so many organizations. He sits on the board of various organizations. He participates with different partners. Another announcement that I also wanted to make is that social impact consulting, we've been working on our website for the past couple of years. There was a time I worked on a website. It was slow, so it was very difficult for people for the images to load up when people would do it, which was my socialimpactng.com. So it was a very challenging user interface. So once the web hosting got expired, I just decided to let it go. Then we also had another issue where we worked on another domain name, which was socialimpact.ng, and then hackers decided to have a field day with my website, because what we wanted to do was create a website / e-learning platform to it, and that didn't quite work out the way I anticipated. It was an experience, with things that happen, you gain experience. So this person, the developer that's working on this one, she knows about me, she knows about the business, she knows about what is needed to build a very strong website, and the right tools and the right security tools and the right security architecture. So we'll be launching our website pretty soon. Now, the intro to this Dev Sector series, you saw two different pieces of content. One was the Civic Space Outlook. Social Impact Consulting was able to work with Spaces for Change, Ford Foundation, West African Civil Society Institute, to develop a Civic Space Resource Hub documentary on the 2022 Civic Space Outlook. You want to watch that, because those of us who are activists, who are organizers, who are civil society actors and social justice advocates, you need to watch things like this so that Spaces for Change, their team led by Victoria Ibezim-Ohairi, they're able to give you an outlook on the civic space in every given year. She was my first guest on the 2021 Civic Space Outlook, and then we now worked on the 2022 Civic Space Outlook, and I'm so stoked about the outlook of 2023. So that's really exciting. The second one is my crown jewel. I've been working on Untold Impact in the whole of 2022. We're going to be doing a pre-screening January 24th. And we're going to be doing a lot of great things with that piece of content. It's 7 episodes on the role of civil society in development. So you want to stay tuned till when we launch that in 2023. I'm very excited about that. The first episode is definitely going to be launched January 24th, 2023. So I'm excited about that. So now to the meat of the matter. We're about to introduce a special guest. He is a social justice activist. He's a civil society activist. The reason why, because if I put board member X, Y, and Z organization, executive director X, Y, and Z, he's involved. He has so many partnerships, so we don't want to leave anyone out. So we just said civil society activist. Okay. So our guest today is Mr. Chike Chude. Okay. So I'm going to read his bio, and then we are going to introduce our guest, and we are going to have fun talking about the 2023 elections, challenges and possibilities. So again, the 2023 elections, challenges and possibilities. So let's read the profile of our guest. Chike Chude is a graduate of the University of Port Harcourt and the University of Lagos. He is a human rights and civil society activist and change agent. A media personality, Chike is a social and political affairs commentator on both national and international platforms, who has made numerous contributions for the enhancement of society through his articles in various national newspapers, as well as the electronic media. He's also an entrepreneur. Chike Chude is the Deputy National Chairman of the Joint Action Front, JAF, and a member of the Justice Development and Peace Center, JDPC, Lagos. He's also in collaboration with the Environmental Rights Action / Friends of the Earth, ERAFOE, Civil Society Situation Room, Reclaim Niger, and several other people-oriented non-governmental organizations. Mr. Chude is not only an armchair critic of bad governance or political and social theoretician, but has also been actively engaged on the streets of Lagos to Abuja in the quest for societal regeneration. Mr. Chude is also an author who uses the literary medium to make the case against social inequality and oppression. Siege in his record novel, his first being The Sunset of Liberty, formerly titled Twilight of Darkness. The Sunset of Liberty features under its previous name in the book Emerging Perspectives on the Nigerian Novel, published by Galga Verlag, Germany. Both of his novels are on the ready list of Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife and the University of Port Harcourt. So allow me to introduce to some and present to others, Mr. Chike Chude. Drum roll. Brrr. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
I can hear you well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Can you
much
hear
for
me?
taking time out of your I can hear you very well. We can hear you.
All right,
yeah.
So it's a pleasure to be on this show. You have a great program, So
thank you.
It's a pleasure. I was actually struggling a bit to hear you, so
okay.
I'm sure we're going to have a very good conversation now.
Okay, awesome. So, we're getting into the election season, and I wanted us to have a conversation about that, because I've watched your commentator. I've seen you on all the dailies and all the regular channels, just commenting about civil society in general, current affairs, just as read in your bio. So, we're just gonna talk a little bit. Please tell us, we're headed towards the elections. Do you think INEC is ready?
Yeah, well, INEC says they are ready. So we have to take them at their words, while at the same time closely marking them, to be sure that they do what they are supposed to do. And we've had series of engagements with them. Look, we've never left INEC alone, even after the very last election. We have always been on their back, because we realized that, look, I think it was the former French leader, I'll try and remember his name, who said that wars are too important to be left in the hands of the soldiers. And so who will say that politics is too important to be left in the hands of, politicians. And we would also say that the elections are too important to be left in the hands of INEC. It's about Nigeria. So so we have to closely mark the institutions, especially very critical institutions like INEC at this particular point in time. Somebody has said that the price we have to pay for democracy is eternal vigilance. So the people have to be constantly vigilant and to monitor their democracies and not to take anything for granted. The fact that Nigeria is the way it is, not being able to fulfill its many potentials, is simply because somehow there has been a collaboration between, the politicians who are essentially in the main unpatriotic and selfish and, of course, self-motivated, and then the citizenry who have refused or failed to hold them accountable. So that's why we are not taking any chances with INEC. We've had series of engagements at different levels, the civil society situation room, with INEC. About 4 weeks ago, for instance, we were engaged with the leadership of INEC at the national stakeholders meeting in Abuja 2 weeks after that, we had another engagement with the Deputy Director of INEC in charge of ICT. Of course, you know that ICT is now playing a major role in elections.
Yes.
And then, of course, the National Commissioner on Publicity for INEC, and that is Festus Okoye. All of these things, have been critical in trying to get INEC to be on their toes at every particular point in time. So, and they keep on, at each time, they keep on telling us that they are ready, that they've done everything they could do. That they should do. But again, at a previous briefing with the former rec of INEC, we were told that as at the time we spoke with them about 3 weeks ago, that they had just about 24 BVAS machines for 24 states in the country, leaving a whopping 12 states. So by the time we met up with the National Commissioner on Information and Publicity, Festus Okoye, I personally asked him that question. How many states, in how many states have they completed, the purchase of BVAS? And he said, as at the time we spoke, about 30 states, leaving about 6 more states. And he said that the other machines were on their way, and that as they come in, they will configure them and get them ready for the election. So there are other challenges, but INEC gives us the impression that they have done, their due diligence, they have done what they need to do, and so from their own perspective, they are ready for the election. I will just wait. I don't want to preempt any other thing you want to say, but based on, of course, there are also, challenges and the rest. We will talk about those ones as the conversation, deepens.
Okay. So, what we've just talked about INEC and their readiness, and based on the conversation, as a member of civil society situation yourself, they are still getting ready. Sometimes, we Nigerians, when they tell us, are you ready? No, I'm ready there. But yeah, just getting ready. So I feel like they are giving us that impression that, they are ready, but that right now, the reality is that they are getting ready. So we'll go to the next question. Do you think we Nigerians have come out of apathy? We were in a cloud of apathy over the past.
No, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Are we there as we're heading to the polls? Do you think we have come out of it?
It's a very big one. If you look at the trend of elections from 1999 till date, I think it is essentially why, you agree that there has been some level of apathy in the polity. And if you look at the last, votes, maybe perhaps was it about national votes for the presidential election around 35 million to 40 million, not up to 40 million if I remember. And then we had about 93, 80 something, million registered voters. That has gone up to around 93 million right now. But if you look at the general trend of elections in the country, in some places, if you have up to 35% turnout, whether for presidential election or governorship election, you say, wow, this was an improvement. Now that is completely unsupportable. In a place like Anambra State, we have a turnout of about 12%. Now that is abysmal. And then, of course, you had Osun State. So we're not operating, anything near at least 80% of total registered voters, or even 70%. So there's been that apathy. But the question really is this apathy, is it going to persist? I might say no. I might say no, given if all things being equal, in the sense that, in the sense that there's greater, compulsion, there's greater awareness, there's greater enlightenment among Nigerians. And so if you look at, for instance, and I think one thing that has added to that is the emergence of the Labour Party and the candidate of the Labour Party. Don't forget that we have had, a duopoly. We've had two major political parties being active from 1999 to date. Of course, APC came along the line, but before the APC, we had the AMPP also together with the PDP. But so for quite some time now, it has been the APC and the PDP dominating the politics of the country. And then all of a sudden, so many things happened. The Labour Party came on board, Peter Obi came on board and became a candidate, and all of a sudden, a lot of Nigerians who are disillusioned with the old order are trying to embrace the Labour Party and Peter Obi, believing that perhaps they could be, something new, different from the past. And so that has galvanized a lot of Nigerians, but most importantly, that has galvanized Nigerians, the Nigerian youths, who for the very first time are beginning to see a reason why they should participate in the political process. And we saw that they contributed a significant number of people that registered during the last registration, exercise. So in a way, and then again, beyond that is the fact that in the last few elections organized by the INEC, Anambra State, Ekiti State, Osun State, there was a noticeable improvement, with the votes, with voting. There was a noticeable improvement in the use of beavers. That is in the use of technology. So that in itself has also emboldened people and encouraged people to believe that perhaps things can actually change, perhaps my vote will count. And that's why you're going to see more people turn out for this election. And I'm hoping that the turnout will be such that we can say ultimately at the end of the day that this was a record turnout for the election. So that apathy, they might not exactly hold out, but there's something that could change that situation negatively, and that's in the topic that you chose, talked about challenges and the possibilities and all that. So it's part of the challenges. The fact that insecurity has become a major problem, in the holding or in the conduct of next year's election, because the thing with insecurity is that insecurity will serve as a basis, or to keep people back at home, and not participate in that process. And so that's what a lot of us are afraid of. And that's why the security forces have to play their part. We cannot allow the apathy that will be occasioned by the insecurity that's going on in the country.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So now, what will it take for us? What will it take for the political parties? This question is more for the political parties because they are the ones that present us candidates, and then we have to pick from the candidates presented to us. What will it take for political parties to give us citizens the right voters, the right leaders to be elected in office?
Yeah. Look, first of all, I think Nigerians have to demand that issues need to be discussed. And we're beginning to see that there's greater pressure, on the usual political members of the political class to just talk at us, to talk in the air, and not to talk, concretely about the things that are needed on ground in the country. And so Nigerians are demanding that they should discuss about issues. Nigerians, are demanding, that the old way of campaigning must change. We must be focused on concrete issues because we find ourselves in a very, very difficult moment at this particular point in time. And so the possibility of political collapse might not be too far. Look at the crisis that has been engendered again by a moribund, economy that we are going through. Look at the corruption that has been exacerbated over time. Look at the joblessness among the country's youths. Look at the state of insecurity and all that. So these are monumental issues, pivotal issues that the politicians must be able to give us assurances that they have the capacity to resolve, to solve. So it's not about the old time politics, promises of, I'm going to do this. We must go beyond the how, beyond the what to the how. So if you tell us you're going to improve on the security situation and the economic situation, we want to know how. We want to take a look at the country's national budget and the revenue that is coming in, that is needed to regenerate our economy and the polity, and the society. We want you to be able to tell us how you're going to arrest that and how you're going to increase the revenue profile of the country. We want you to tell us how you're going to stop the thousands and thousands of people, especially the young ones that are fleeing daily the shores of our country. How you are going to discourage other countries from attracting the important manpower that we need for economic development. Just recently, the British government, was putting up advertorials to attract teachers. Now we do not have enough teachers in the country. The few we have, you are taking away. The few medical personnel that we have, you are taking away. The engineers, the ICT professionals are all going out of the country, are all running away. You cannot develop a country in that manner. So there must be a way, for the politicians to tell us that they are capable of arresting the drift, and to stop people from traveling, and even and after some time to begin to attract the people that have already gone out of the country. Many of them are not happy being outside of Nigeria. I can tell you, I speak with a lot of them, and all they want to hear is good news that things are beginning to get better in this country, and they want to come back home. They want to play, meaningful roles in revamping and changing the direction of their country. But they're not going to do that for as long as the country finds itself in the kind of socioeconomic, quagmire that Nigeria currently finds herself. So Nigerians need to, hold the leaders accountable, before the election itself and after the election. They must get them to make promises about what they intend to do when they get to power. And when they get to power, they must hold them accountable for those promises that they made.
Thank you. That's quite comprehensive in terms of, because like the Japa syndrome you just talked about, I think that if the government provides an enabling environment for people to be able to thrive, they will not be encouraged to leave. So it's just a case of making sure that the government is where it needs to be, and that starts with leadership. So thanks for that. Now I'm going to just switch conversations to another direction. As you know, the issue with women in politics, in political parties, from what I see, a lot of them is, become a woman leader. You understand what I'm saying? You don't even see, female governors, or even you have a few deputy governors here and there, but they are just kind of like a placeholder position. So what will it take for women to be active in politics in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, I knew definitely that you're not going to get done with this program without talking about women, and their role in politics. Well, obviously, you're not alone. The women cannot do it without the men. It's as simple as that. So there is a synergy that we have to work together. All the gains that have been made by the women have been done also by the men. So we need to work together, because look, the society is made up of both genders, and the only way we can move forward is if we're united. If we have a united front, to ensure that those things that concern a woman are those things that are constraints to the ability of the Nigerian woman and the girl child to truly harness their potentials for greatness, for personal development, and again for the nation. That all those obstacles are removed. And so, yes, a bit of progress has been made. But in the past few years, especially in the past 8 years, under the present political dispensation, women have taken a seat backwards in terms of, being actively involved in the politics of this country. The previous administration of the PDP under the Jonathan presidency, made it clear that I think there was going to be about maybe a 35% women participation in governance, and they were able to achieve that. The wife of the former first lady, I think, played an active role in that. But all of it, from 2015 to now, we have had less women participation in the politics of the country, and so I think one of the first things we need to do, apart from actively campaigning on behalf of the women themselves have to sit up, so that you don't give them these things on a platter of gold. It must be something that they worked for, that they work towards, because it is the only thing, it is the only way that they can cherish it. There's a saying that anything easily gotten is less valued, and that's why a lot of Nigerians are saying that perhaps we have taken our democracy, our country, for granted, because we did not really shed blood in the cause of fighting for our country's independence. That it came essentially on a platter of gold without gunshots being fired. I'm not saying it should have been violent, but sometimes when people have sweated, and campaigned rigorously for something and have worked hard for something, the tendency that they will value it and take care of it is much higher than people it was given to. So women need to also continue to wage the battle that needs to be fought. They must fight it. And for us, we have to be ready to be at their side, supporting them all the way until victory can be achieved and women are allowed to play the roles that they should play in their own country. Look, people have said, I think there's a saying somewhere that if there's no woman, there's no nation. And I think that is true. Women have played and do continue to play critical part in the development of their nations. So when you support them and more of them come into the politics of the country, perhaps, and I want to believe that there will be a difference, and that they will be able to put the men on their toes. And so that's what I think, we need to do.
Okay. So does it have anything to do with the political culture? Like, for example, let me just give a quick example. I have a mentor, one of my aunts. She's actually very involved in Edo State politics, and she says that her husband is very supportive, and he allows her go to those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning meetings. Why would you have a meeting?
No, there are cultural issues, obviously,
meetings at the crack of dawn? I know my husband won't let me go out in the crack of dawn, for a meeting. Who are you meeting? Meeting with who? So I'm just saying these are some of the cultural shifts, So what's
there are obviously cultural issues. We know the country we're in. We know our background also. This has not exactly, been favored the women more. I think we all realize the fact, and we all know the fact that the situation tends to favor the men more, when more is expected of the men in terms of their engagement within the polity and all that. Of course, again, politics being seen as a very dirty game, generally, in general terms. And so men tend to get away with a lot of things, that if they find themselves even doing within the political arena. And I think the society will be much more vehemently opposed to women who indulge in some of the things that the men themselves, get involved in. So society has shown over time that it is more intolerant of excesses by women or mistakes that women make or whatever, that society frowns at. It tends to be much more intolerant. And that is a discrimination that we see within our society. But I think there are many noble women out there who want to just come in and do something noble and try to change the narrative of their country, of their society. And these people should be given opportunity. Of course, it starts from the home. And so, you see, the reality is that, especially for a woman that, a mother and a wife, she has to be able to learn the practice or the act of juggling, various responsibilities, the politics of the day, and then again, her duties as a mother and as a husband. And that is not to say that even the man who is a politician does not have a duty to fulfill as a father and as a husband. He has a duty. So the fact that he's a politician does not give him, the opportunity or the liberty, to just engage in politics to the detriment of the well-being of the family. The family is our primary responsibility, whether it is a man or whether it is a woman. So I think it's about a woman also knowing that she has a role to play as a politician, even if she's an appointed, representative, whether a governor or a minister or whatever it is, and her role as a parent, her role as a wife. Once she's not able to fulfill any of these roles, you're going to have a hiatus or a disruption in the process, and which would also not be good for her. We've had prime ministers or presidents, even in Africa here, who have also had to say that they have responsibilities, even being, apart from being top political office holders, that they also know that they have responsibilities at home as a wife or as a mother, and that they try to fulfill those responsibilities. Being a prime minister, for instance, being a governor, a female governor, does not give you the liberty to also say, I will take my family for granted, I will take my role as a wife for granted. Neither does it give the man that same liberty to say, I will take my wife for granted, I will take my children for granted, I will take my family for granted. It's about balance. It's about balance.
I feel like society permits men to throw things off balance and everything. But I guess it's a conversation that we'll just continue to have with regards to women inclusion. Like you said earlier, politics, especially in a place like Nigeria, is a very dirty game. And your hands and the stains are less impactful for men than are for women. So these are kind of like the core baseline of why it's a bit more challenging for women to get more involved. And also just the patriarchal culture in Nigeria that causes it as well. I'm not like one of those woke females. I'm just saying that there's a bit of a misbalance in terms of how a woman can actively get involved in politics. Like, how I can give a couple, how Governor Wike chest out is a politician, lawyer to the core. You get what I'm saying? And other governors, you know what I mean? So it's just a bit of a challenge. That's kind of how I see it. Again, thank you for your contribution to that question. And the next question, people are on the fence about security. You talked about that earlier in our conversation. People are on the fence about security when as they are going out to vote. Do you think the environment is going to be safe for us to conduct our civic duty? Or what do we need to look out for?
Yeah, well, there's a dilemma. Look, first of all, we are Nigerians and we love our country, and we want things to be well. We want things to go on smoothly with the country. We want to get to where we think this country, should get to, and we think, and we have identified politics, as the bane of our country. We have identified misgovernance or governance as the critical, sector that we should all concentrate on to try to get it right. And so the process of getting it right, I think in the process of getting it right, election is one of the most critical elements in trying to build our nation. And then, but you also have anti-democratic forces who are not exactly happy with an election that will be determined by the will of the people. So they will do everything to make sure that the people do not turn out, that the people do not exercise their franchise. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, they want to destroy this country. They want things to continue on the same trajectory. And we know that we cannot afford for Nigeria to continue on that same trajectory. Do we let them? That is the issue. Do we let them? Look, in the build-up to the Anambra State election, there was so much, apprehension about Anambra. Some of us had to go for election observation in Anambra State, and then, there was just so much premonition about the violence that would take place there and that we are all more safe and the rest. But some of us opted to go there. Some of us opted to go there, while some said, no, we don't want to go. We went and we observed that election. And I'm glad that we did. So it was about calling the bluff of these people. But that is not to say that we should close our eyes willy-nilly and then just, risk ourselves, our lives. Because the first thing we tell observers, even during training, is that the most important thing first is your life. You have to be able to safeguard your life before you begin to talk about, the polling unit, what happened at the polling units, how many votes were cast, and the rest. Dead men tell no tales, as they say. So we have to, try and preserve ourselves first of all. And so the anti-democratic forces, have it at the back of their mind, and they are working towards it to frighten Nigerians into being too afraid to come out and get involved in the election. But if you look at the pattern of elections in this country and the level of violence, you realize that to a very large extent, it has gone down over the years. 2011 was the most, traumatic for Nigerians, where over 800, Nigerians were killed. But it's been going down for quite some time now. Only that at this particular point in time, we have a more unique situation where, instead of seeing reduction in some level of violence, we have seen, violent activities, especially attack on INEC facilities. So I think that, we should also try to strike a balance. The security forces must up their game. The people that are causing this insecurity are known. The people that are attacking INEC facilities are known. For the life of me, I have never really understood why they have not been able to tell us that they have caught certain people who will lead them, the perpetrators who will lead them to the politicians who sent them in the very first place. It's only when you have punished these people that, those people who are bent on mischief will think twice before committing, acts of mischief. Like the good book says, that when, a crime goes unpunished, the heart of the people is filled with rebellion. They want to do the same thing because others have done it and gotten away with it. So I think that, look at, especially what is going on in the Southeast. We have been having political campaigns. The PDP has been there. The APC has been in Imo State, Anambra State, and other parts of the Southeast. We have not had any attack on the campaign grounds on people. So perhaps I suspect that we are exaggerating the ability and the potential for these people to cause violence. We have blown it out of proportion, but that is not to say that people should not be careful. We should be situationally aware of our environment, but I think we should all come out to exercise our franchise.
Oh, wow, that is a good one. So this is going to be the final question, sir, before we let you in on your final thoughts, because I know you have a very busy day today. Can you just let us know, what do you anticipate? Now, before we're talking about 150 days, 100 days. Now we're in the double digits. Soon enough, we're going to get to the single digits to the day of the elections. What do you anticipate as we count down to the day of election?
Well, I think it's more of a hope than anticipation, really. I'm hoping that Nigerians realize more and more the importance of this election. I'm hoping that Nigerians will realize more and more the importance of voting people with credibility, decent people, relatively sincere people, people with a sense of vision and mission, people that have clearly shown, from the antecedents that they are patriotic, people with that are result-oriented, that have good testimonials, as to their character and to their identity. All of these things are important because you cannot. Today, some of us are lamenting. We have looked around and we said, look, people made promises to us in 2015. On the basis of those promises, we discarded the previous legacy and chose something new with the hope that that new thing would ultimately work in the interest of everybody. Perhaps a lot of us were sentimental at that particular point in time, but I would expect us to eschew sentiment, and to look at the candidates, to look at their political parties, to look at their manifestos, to look at, things that matter rather than the ethnic proclivities, religious inclinations, geopolitical considerations. And these things are irrelevant. It's about the ability of people to deliver. And I think that this is what, I expect. And I'm also hoping that the spate of violence in the country would go down and more people would be enthused, and exuberant about the need for them to come out and to rescue their country through exercising their votes at the polling station. These are the things, I'm expecting.
Okay. So now we're going to just go to your final thoughts as we end this discussion. So what are your final thoughts?
Okay, my final thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I think I've said a lot about the polity, but maybe I should just say that you are doing something wonderful. Yeah, the quality of your shows, your presentation, they are top notch. Of course, I know for somebody who always wants to excel in whatever she does, I know that even no matter how good what you are doing is, you want to be better than that.
Yes.
And that is the only thing that will make you actually stand out above, those doing the same thing. Your ability to add that extra touch. And I think you have what it takes. I have seen a bit of your works and I have been impressed. The only thing I can say is kudos. As the French will say, courage, keep it on. You are doing something good, and you're also contributing your part to national discourse and for the liberation of this country.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you for contributing your own quota, because at least, we can look back when we're a lot older and say, this is what I contributed to nation building. Again, Mr. Chike, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Let me let you get on with the rest of your day. Thanks,
It's
thanks
been a
again
pleasure.
for.
I would say, let me just say 5 bosas to you. Bosa,
Thank
bosa,
you.
bosa, bosa, and bosa. All the
Thank
best.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, take care. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Development Sector Series. Again, I'm going to say last, those of you who hung into the end, please put your name, where you're watching from, so that I can give you a shout out at the moment, because once it gets off live, I won't be able to, but you just let me know so I can at least talk to you in the comment section. So again, thank you all so much for watching the Development Sector Series, #Dev Sector Series. Again, giving you some announcements. The first episode of Untold Impact is going to premiere on January 24th, 2023, at the same time of our pre-screening. Those of you who will be invited will get your invitations. Again, thank you so much for being a part of my journey on the Development Sector Series, which is Dev Sector Series. If you want to know more and watch more of my episodes, go on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Just go #Dev Sector Series. You will see just about all of them. And LinkedIn is where my oldest episodes are. So if you want to go all the way back to the boonies, then go on LinkedIn, #Dev Sector Series. Again, the holidays are coming up. This is the 21st. In 4 days, we're going to be having Christmas, spending time with our families, picking up recipes that we have not cooked throughout the year because we're busy. We're going to be cooking, baking, talking to our family and friends. Again, thank you so much for making me be a part of your individual lives. There's something that Samuel Abuki, who is a digital marketer, a social media influencer, there's something he said, you need to be grateful as a content creator for the people who do watch your program. You may be like, oh, I'm looking for virality. I am just grateful for the people who are watching. And as I just work to develop better content for you all, make sure that I'm able to serve you all better, I'm just grateful for those who are currently watching now. I do not take your time for granted. I do not take your contributions for granted. Thank you so much. The year 2022 was a blast. I was able to build about 8 separate documentaries this year, which will be launched. One of them, the 2022 Civic Space Outlook, was launched earlier in the year on the YouTube platform of Spaces for Change. And then the next one, Untold Impact, will premiere January 2023. I am so excited about that. So again, thank you so much for watching the Development Sector Series, #Dev Sector Series. Thank you so much. Let's change the world together. Happy holidays.